We're ready.
Okay, do we have any comments from the public? Do I have any director comments? Okay. Are there any adjustments for relief from the
Nothing
district?
this month.
Okay. Our next agenda is the consent agenda items. We have 4 items on the consent agenda. One is the minutes from the August meeting, the financials for the August, the tax collector's report, and approving attendance and expenses for the trustees. Is there any objection to having anything on the consent agenda? Do I have a motion to approve this consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I have to abstain because I wasn't at the August meeting.
Okay. So noted. Our next agenda item is to review and act on the district's draft fiscal 2022-23 operating budget and to recommended water rate structure.
Do we want to do what we did last meeting and switch it around? It's kind of
Okay,
kind of contrary to adopt the budget and then talk about the tax rate.
all right.
In
So
case you all want to do something different on the tax rate.
okay, so you want to do agenda item 10 then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Does that be okay?
that's fine with me. Is that fine with everybody else? All
Yeah.
right. So to conduct a public hearing regarding the district's intent to levy a 2022 tax rate.
Okay, so you published a 0.077434 tax rate, which is actually a little higher than it was last year. I think it was 75. But forget the reasoning. I think we wanted the highest just to see if we had some wiggle room in the budget. And then we might be able to lower it at this meeting. Since we can always lower it, you just can't go higher or you got to republish. So your budget was prepared using the 0.077434 tax rate. So, and with that budget prepared, you've got 8 months of coverage in your debt in your budget. You're projecting a $500,000 loss, but lowering the tax rate is only going to make that. What's a penny worth?
Yes. $111,112.
So that would take it to 642,000 roughly.
I think the 77434 was the highest they could levy without a rollback election.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
3% or something.
That was with your unused, with your unused.
All right.
And, and Brian, Bruce and I met with you all, I guess it was early last week, to talk about this very issue. I sent in a note to folks, and someone, I think there were other notes. But I think last Monday you mentioned that with the structure of the Senate Bill 2 on these unused increments, if we don't use that increment, we basically wash that away in the future. Is that
That's
correct?
That's correct. And we can discuss that some more under item number 11. If y'all want, item 10 is really just for the board to adjourn the regular meeting and conduct the public hearing to receive any comments from the public. And then once we receive comments from the public, then y'all can have a discussion on the rate justification. So
Well, thanks for that clarification.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
So do I have any comments from the public regarding? Okay,
if not, then we can close the public hearing and move on to item 11, which is to consider an act on the levy of the 2022 tax rate and the adoption of the order. So that goes back to discussion about the publication rate at 0.077434. And Neil is correct. The rate was determined based on the 3.5% for this district being a developed district under Senate Bill 2 and unused increments from the previous couple of years, meaning that if you, I can't remember what the facts were for this district, but I know y'all had some unused increment. Basically, if you had the ability to levy up 3.5% revenue the last 2 years, but you didn't do that, you can basically bank that forward for a 3-year period. Although since the bill just passed in 19, right now you only have 2 years to bank. So this rate takes into account whatever you had to bank the last 2 years, 20 and 21, into this rate. And to Neil's point, what we talked about at a meeting last week
Monday.
was that the Senate Bill 2, it sets the limit based on your previous year's levy. So whatever, if you give up some of your tax rate, it's pretty much gone from then forward, because your next year's 3.5% is based on your average homestead bill, tax bill for the previous year. So it's not based on your cumulative levy. You know, because a lot of districts have a combination of homesteads, single family homesteads, single family that are not homesteads, whether it's rentals or whatever, multifamily, commercial, et cetera. So it's not 3.5% based on your total levy. It's what is the value of the average homestead in the district, and what is the tax bill based on your previous year's rate on that average home. So if your average home is 400,000, you multiply that, divide that by 100, multiply that times your tax rate, that's your bill. You do that times 1.035 to get your 3.5%. And that's what you're limited to in the future year. So if you reduce that down for this year and the other year, you pretty much lost that amount. So it's a one-way street. And that's one of the flaws in SB 2 that I think is becoming readily apparent to everyone right now, is that it didn't account for inflation. I mean, we've been in a very stable inflation environment for 20 plus years, and now we're not. And you've got districts that are having significantly increased expenses because of materials, labor, et cetera. But you're limited on a fixed 3.5% increase in your revenue, regardless of what expenses you're doing. So that's going to be a problem if inflation doesn't get under control here before long for some entities. Not to say that for this district in particular, but that's just one of the things you have to contend with. If you go down, you're limited to that 3.5%, regardless of what inflation is for next year.
And I would assume, based on the fact that we're expecting some significant increase in expenses moving forward, that if we don't go with that 7.7, we would only increase the likelihood of rollbacks in the future.
You would, yes, or being in a position where you don't have sufficient reserves because you're bleeding them down to balance your budget, that you put yourself in a position that you have to go out and issue revenue bonds and have a significant increase in your water and sewer revenues because you don't have bonding authority, tax bond authority remaining, that you could go and issue property tax backed bonds.
But we do have bonds that are out there, but that are authorized, but not.
Yeah, we've talked about the issue that the Attorney General, the position the Attorney General's office is now taking regarding bonding authority. They've taken the position that if it hasn't been used in a significant period of time, it's considered stale. And I'm significantly concerned that y'all's remaining unused authority would be deemed by the Attorney General's office to be stale and therefore not usable.
So we'd have to go to the voters to.
Correct. To get more authorization to issue property tax backed bonds, which is, of course, very politically flawed to be able to do that.
Right.
So it pretty much backs you into your only option being, if you don't have significant enough or sufficient reserves, operating reserves, is to have to issue water and sewer revenue bonds and jack up your water and sewer rates to be able to pay the debt service on those bonds and to create a reserve. Because if you issue water sewer revenue bonds, you have to have a reserve when you issue those bonds. So it would be painful.
Interesting that there's not a definition to stale. Why not just have a statute of limitations?
That's been discussed, that issue about what is deemed to be staleness has been discussed quite a bit. We had a lot of discussions with the AG's office when we issued my 36's bonds last year, and there were significant concerns with the AG's office, but we were able to work our way through that. Maybe we could on this one, but I think they're getting very squeamish about some of these older authorizations that have been sitting out there for many years and have never been used, but haven't been used And I mean, I think y'all's is from back in the 80s.
I was gonna ask a-
Yeah, it's a long time. Yeah.
Soundsville.
Yeah.
It ought to be defined.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay,
So that's kind of the background on what the potential ramifications would be if you go down. Now, I mean, y'all's tax rate is so low and you're not a huge district, so each penny is not worth a ton. So it's not like you're completely changing your fiscal outlook by going with 0.75 your current rate versus the 0.77434, but it gives you a little bit. And that was, I think, the justification from your financial advisor when they made that recommendation.
so let me make sure I understand this then. So our rate budget was prepared at 0.077434, which results in a loss of 500,000 for the year.
That's correct.
And multiple on reserves, let's say it's roughly 2 million. That's not a great cushion.
No, it's going down by the end of the fiscal year. It'll be down to 1.6.
Yes, right. And since we don't have an inflation clause into that 1.035, we're getting squeezed
Yes,
both ways.
yes.
Historically, has there been a threshold that we've looked at as far as number of months of reserve?
You know, that gets talked about quite a bit, and there's no hard and fast rule. I mean, I think you'll generally hear somewhere between 6 and 12 months. And it also will depend on the age of your infrastructure, what type of infrastructure you're responsible for. Of course, we talk about the fact that the River Authority is responsible for your mechanical infrastructure. You are responsible for sewer lines under 15 inches, water lines under 12, detention, drainage channels, things of that nature. So you do have some infrastructure that you're responsible for, but at least you don't have the big expensive moving part items, wells and motors and whatnot. So that helps a little bit, but an older district like this, I think you're going to want to be going closer to the, to the 9 to 12 into the 6.
And when I mean, years ago, when I first got on the board, that was our goal, was 12 months.
Right.
So over the last 6 years, it's gone from 12 now to 8.
And then at the end of the year, it'll be 6.2.
This will be your third year, it looks like, if the budget comes in close to actual, your third year of running a deficit. So using your reserves to balance your budget.
Yeah, the previous 2 years, we had the capital outlay for the meters. Yeah, yeah.
Box right there.
But that's past us now. We still have the 500,000 plus loss that we're gonna have to fund.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big one, of course, is sewer.
Yeah.
We're talking
Yeah.
about
Right.
close to, a little over 900.
Yeah, and that was the shock for me when I looked at that rehabilitation cost estimate. I mean, 20 feet of 12-inch replacing the 12-inch PVC, just for that one piece, $20,000 plus. And there's all other added on items to that.
Yeah.
And then the cast in place liner, 402 feet of that, $64,000 plus. So those are,
They're high ticket items, you
Yeah.
gotta deal with traffic, you gotta deal, you're in the shoulder of the
Right.
road and it's costly.
you gave us a hint of some possible good news going out to the future, that perhaps the infrastructure,
Yeah, so
the
we.
water line and sewer lines are not as serious as
Yeah,
we
it's not
feared.
It's not as bad as we had feared.
Right.
So as old as the district is, even with some of the AC water lines, the consultant that we hired to do the evaluation of the AC water lines estimated those still have 40 to 50 years of life left. Well, that's the original slightly good.
40 to 50 years.
Yes, yes. So there's only about a 5% probability of failure. So we thought that was good news. The sewer pipes and the sewer lines, even though we have some leaks and some problems, as you've seen, That estimate there is a little over 600,000. There are some more testing, evaluation, smoke testing, died water flooding proposed for this fiscal year. Manhole inspections. But some of the high traffic areas, the pipes are still in good shape. We've seen some surface defects, manhole rims that are cracked or knocked off, but that's a fix that I can do in-house. And we've done many of them already. You know, at one time, I was thinking you guys remember back when we had these sewers evaluated, we had a consultant that recommended we put corks in all the pick holes.
Okay.
Is that consultant Mr. Megger?
Yeah, he actually followed through and did some of that in his district. But we do have something a little bit more sophisticated than that. I propose that it's a new cover, a new frame, just something more current rather than that, because those pop out, kids dig them out. I mean, it does theoretically work, but it's not a permanent solution.
Okay, I seem to have lost track of where I'm at on this on this agenda here. So we're at item number 11.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, to consider and act upon the levy of the district's 2022 tax rate and the adoption of an order in connection therewith.
Yeah, so I think we were discussing the 0.7434. Should we, you know, go with the higher rate, or do you want to levy something a little less than that? Based on
Really the higher rate.
based on we can end the year at,
The deficit we have.
end the year at 6.2 months of coverage, depending on the razor's edge, the lower edge. If you go lower, obviously you're below below what we would recommend as a safe budget threshold.
Yeah, I would agree going with the conservative side as far as preserving reserves, because we've had that value eaten into because of the low interest rates, and now we're in the world of inflation. So, yeah, I see that as again, being squeezed here at both ends. We have no choice at this point with the way Senate Bill 2 has been structured.
Yeah, I mean, to keep some flexibility and give you a little breathing room for a deficit budget and drawing down your reserves. Yeah, that's the conservative route to go.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion?
So, okay, well, I will second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
And that's to adopt the 77434.
Okay,
Yes.
correct.
that's correct.
So now we can go back to 9. That's how this budget was prepared.
Okay.
0.7743.
We'll make a note to change that agenda item next year.
Yeah, we just switched that.
They're so inextricably intertwined. You know, even if you pull the other one up, we're still talking about.
Yeah,
the budget
exactly.
policy.
But we have another item is when we approve homestead exemptions, that's in an entirely different part of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
So we're doing what, the 20%, 20%?
20%.
So,
Which are over 65 and say.
That's 10,000, but I could.
But yeah, that's got to be done early in the year.
Yeah.
because of the appraisal.
because of the other. Yeah, it's an interesting challenge. Sorry, I just want to make that
No
comment.
worries.
But we are trying to look after our customers by providing those exemptions.
So item 9, to review and act upon the district's draft fiscal 2022-23 operating budget and the recommended water rate structure.
Okay, so we've discussed it. We've decided to adopt the 77434. With that budget, you end the year at a $500,000 deficit and 6.2 months of coverage. So a little scary, but gets worse the lower you go.
So just in general, how does that compare with the other MUD districts as far as their?
You know, there's some that end the year with less than 6 months of coverage.
Okay.
Hmm.
Travelers deficit.
Metro did. MUD 39 had they were up to 15 months of coverage. They were kind of the other end of the spectrum. There's 2 or 3 that end the year with less than 6 months of coverage.
The accountant may hate seeing a negative budget.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't like that either.
I'm just,
absolutely. Yeah.
however, Is there, there is nothing to do about it. So
There's, well,
at this point,
you can defer some of the sewer repair.
not enough to justify bringing, not enough to bring that.
We do
So-
not want to defer maintenance. We don't want to end up like Nashville or
No,
some of these other places.
But we're not going to be looking for ways to spend money if we don't have to, based on the most recent consultant study.
No, sir.
Okay, that's, I don't
Yeah,
want to
we
go too
can-
crazy on the preventive maintenance if we're getting
Yeah.
feedback that says we got another 40, 50 years on the majority of the system.
Yeah.
Well, question on that. So I think we touched on this in the past. It looks like we spent about half of what was budgeted this past fiscal year on sewer repair.
Correct. So also included in that, the half that's remaining is the new stuff that we're gonna do this year. Continued dive water flooding, continues manhole investigation. This is kind of what we're calling the year 3 investigation. So there's some, not repairs there, but it's also gonna be some design and some engineering. And I think we have a breakdown of that somewhere.
and you know, you directors could give up your monthly salary.
We already cut lunches out. So we're on there, we're
Yeah.
trending in the right direction.
Yeah, we are, you know.
That's my stuff.
Yep. All right. So having said that, are there any more discussion?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't at the previous meetings and I'm just questioning the water revenue budget for the next year compared to what the budget was for 21-22 with increased water rates. Are we just going to be more conservative on the consumption of the revenue estimates are down for the next year?
River Authority's projections,
They reduced their projections, so we wanted to be more in line with their.
what they did.
Yeah, we used a 4-year average.
Okay.
And over the 4-year average, we have seen a decline.
Looking at the history, yeah,
Yes.
okay. But the rates are going up too. That's what I'm looking at. Consumption versus rates.
Two have similar
Consumption.
higher the price gets, the
Right. Oh, people kept,
comes back.
almost works for me, except in June, July, and August of this year.
Rate changes the sewer rate to match
Right.
their increase for the whole,
Sure.
not the water, just the sewers.
Right.
Yeah,
That's right, yeah.
that's built in already to begin in January.
So one of the bigger anomalies last year was the actual water service repair. I'm assuming, again, a lot of that goes back to the damage done from some of the contractors. Do we know what percentage of the work is complete within the district?
You know, complete as far as AMI,
As far as TACUS goes?
they're almost done. Now we have some new players that have moved in. Somebody moved in yesterday and broke the line, didn't even call for locates. Don't know who they're working for yet. But yeah, there's new players moving in every day. A lot of that, Aaron, is locates, just actually having the guy spend 80 hours, 2 guys spend 40 hours a week just locating lines.
Hmm.
That hopefully will go away because TACUS won't be here. They're gonna be wrapped up, they told us, by October.
Okay.
They're not going to Sterling Ridge. They've completely cut that out of their schedule. Yeah, I thought that was shocking. I guess they didn't get
I
enough
too.
The residents been did it to see.
information. They didn't get enough sales back there. I don't know. We're still not finished putting in all the meters. We're still struggling with some that are encumbered by trees and roots. And we're having to have guys go around and cut all that stuff out so we can actually just get to the meter and change the meter. But we've got about 50 or 60 of those left, as well as about 50 or 60 commercial meters left, some of the bigger commercial meters. But hopefully, and so the warranty has not even started on any of our meters yet. Some of them have been in the ground over 2 years, August 2020. They were in the ground for 2 years and the warranty has not even started yet.
So it's not until the whole project's
The whole
complete.
project's done, all the districts are installed, then warranty started now.
Okay.
Is there any way you get a feel for what the conversion has been to a company such as TACUS right now to justify what they've done and what the state is allowed to happen?
You know, that
10% even make
advertised
that.
again last week. They have another new guy, another COO, brand new guy that,
I think I was over right here in Oak Ridge, Shenandoah, wasn't it? Previous CEO?
I don't know where he came from. His name is Cole Pate. I don't know what his previous history was, but he's committed to us that he will, we sent him all the addresses and all the dates that these lines were damaged. He's committed to us that he will pull out all the damage reports for all the dates and damages that we have and send them to us so we can compare as to who broke it, why it was, if it was even TACUS, we don't even know if it was TACUS, we assume it was. So he's got a lot of work to do. We have not got that package. We've given him all our information. We're just waiting for his resubmit to us.
Further questions, comments? Okay, so then I would entertain a motion to approve the budget.
I will move to approve the district's budget for the years 2022, 2023. Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving on here, item number 12, approval and execution of an amended district information form.
That document has to be recorded in the property record. This part, yeah, will. Things like that. Information. To approve the amended form and to authorize it to be recorded in the property records.
Is there a motion to that effect?
I so move for approval execution of the amended district information form.
Is there a second?
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 13, receive the San Jacinto River Authority Woodlands Division report, including an update on the wastewater strategic plan and an update on the infrastructure funding.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Our monthly operating report is in your packet. One thing to add to that is, as requested and approved through the MUDs, the Woodland system is now going to a 50% surface water blend. That starts September 1. Everything is working as it should. If you have any questions on the operational data, I'll be happy to answer.
Are there any questions? Comments?
That's summary, Dan, have a quick update for you.
On page 33 of your packet, we had several directors request some more tours. So we have a tour of our surface water treatment plant scheduled for Thursday, October 6th. And then we also have a tour of wastewater treatment plant 1 scheduled for Thursday, October 20th. And then we had a request for a tour of our water plant and our wells. So we're working on a date for that, as well as a date to tour the Bear Branch Dam and Reservoir. And then Jade's Houston did a podcast on Hank's Think Tank. I believe you guys got an email with that link yesterday.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
So quick update on wastewater strategic plan. In your packets, page 34 is a meeting summary from August 24th, progress meeting with a consultant. Really the update I want to give today is over the past month and a half. We've been working with our consultant planning for upcoming stakeholder meetings. We've added an additional stakeholder meeting that's not in the original approach to the project, but that is took place on September 28th. The purpose of that meeting is to discuss and receive input from stakeholders regarding to our approach and metrics utilized for the cost estimates of the shortlisted alternatives, looking at what the inputs are, what the variables are, assumptions, things like percentage for inflation over a 50-year time frame. Give the stakeholders the ability to provide their input on how we look at all those numbers, build up the cost estimates to compare at the November 2nd stakeholder meeting, which is when we will have all those costs. Part of the goal for the September 28th stakeholder meeting is really build some consensus between the stakeholders. So once we get to November, the discussion in that meeting should be more focused on results and path forward versus questioning and discussion on how those cost estimates were developed. So we hope to provide a little bit more efficiency as we go through this project, because it is getting to where key critical decisions are going to have to be made, and we're looking to have a path forward in the January, February timeframe early next year. So there's going to be a lot happening over the next few months. One additional item for the upcoming stakeholder meeting in September is we're going to give a high-level overview of the membrane bioreactor technology. There's still some short-listed alternatives that include the use of that technology. We want stakeholders to understand the differences between that versus the conventional treatment methods that our facilities utilize today, the potential pros, cons, et cetera, associated with that. So any questions on wastewater strategic plan?
Questions? Thank you very much.
And I don't really have any update on the infrastructure funding.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything from the attorney?
Only item I've been reporting on is that we are looking at RNS, policy number RNS 60 that deals with customer defaults and turnoffs to see if it makes sense to modify the language. And there you may have seen a little bit of discussion about that in the trustees report. We've done some research of TCQ rules, PUC rules, the statutes and case law, and don't believe there is an absolute legal requirement that notice for turnoffs be provided by hand delivered door tags, that we could do it by mail. The language in RNS 60 requires either the hand delivery or certified mail. Certified mail is not a great option, of course, because somebody can just say no and then argue they didn't receive notice. So I believe staff's going to take a look at different combinations of notification methods through mail and perhaps e-blast if folks have provided an email address, and other ways that might be more cost effective to provide the same notice. I think vendors are starting to really raise the cost due to labor expenses, et cetera, to provide those hand deliveries. So I think they're going to look at that and see if there's a more cost effective way to do it. Some more to come there.
Okay.
That's all I have under item number 15.
Okay. Then item number 15 is to receive and act upon the staff information regarding the upcoming MCAD Board of Directors election for the term office of 2022 to 2023.
So this is actually for a vacancy on the agenda. It's from the previous election cycle, but in this instance, there's a vacancy on the board as a result of somebody moving away and no longer being able to serve. I believe the spot was populated by Montgomery ISD, according to Jeannie. So it's not a special purpose district position, but they asked for any of the entities, taxing entities, to provide nominations for potential appointments to fill the vacancy. The board has the discretion on who they actually appoint, but the nominations can be persuasive to them perhaps. We've had two different individuals nominated by a couple of the Woodlands MUDs. One person is Walt Pashesky, who's the director of MUD 1. He's also been very involved for many years in the Woodlands. He was nominated initially by his MUD board, MUD 1, and then was since supported by MUD 60, MUD 47, and MUD 39 that have met so far. MUD 7 did not support anyone. Metro Center MUD, one of the directors had a contact that was not affiliated with the MUD that he thought would be a good person to nominate. I don't know what his name was. Wayne Lasco. I'll get it down by the end of the meeting cycle. So they nominated him. Metro's the only one who supported that candidate. Hopefully, I was getting a little worried there after the first couple of meetings, thinking, we're going to have 5 or 6 different nominees and kind of dilute the whole point of doing this. The idea being, if you have a number of nominations for a particular candidate, that makes it a little more persuasive. So y'all can participate and make a nomination or not. It's really at your discretion.
I know Walt. I've worked with Walt for years on the DSC and then through other things, so I would have no objection to supporting him.
I just question the value of doing this right now. If you said that position's been previously filled with people with Montgomery Independent School District population.
Yeah, but Arthur Bredehoff from the Woodlands is now on the board, and he was seated for a school district position as well, not actually for a special purpose district position. So,
Okay.
you don't know. I don't know what the board's position is going to be on if they're determined for it to be a school district person or just someone that they think has a significant amount of support.
I would make a motion to support Walt.
I'll second that. I know Walt too.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The general manager's report.
Okay, a couple things. Trustees approved our budget. That's good news. In the packet, there's also we had two gentlemen come visit the trustees at the meeting last week that are running for a position on Lone Star. There is a white campaign objective letter that they put together. That's in the packet. I would encourage you to look at that and read that if you're interested, because those are two spots that we can vote for Lone Star. There also is a compliment letter in the packet. We're always happy to get those. John Dagan's got that. One of our elderly customers, and we're very pleased with that effort. Not a whole lot. Jim, I said, is not driving, but he does come to a meeting or two, and he does work from home quite a bit, and we get calls all the time. So he is working, just not here. Hopefully he'll be back for the October meeting, be able to walk and with not much assistance and be able to drive. So any questions? I'll take questions if you have them on the report.
Yeah, just, okay, thanks, Rob. Just one question on the paper from.
Yeah, that was handed
John
out.
Yours and James
Uh-huh.
Ridgway. Don't we need to be real careful that this letter that being perpublished as part of the MUD packet could be, not that should be, construed as some kind of endorsement? Perhaps that's a Brian question.
Maybe.
Well,
They dropped
You know,
off
we-
like a little information
okay with
that we
that?
included in the packet. Oh, just people made a presentation to the
Right.
board and
I think having it in the packet was just, that's something that was provided as part of their presentation.
Right, yeah,
The trustees and the board isn't advocating for any of the
right.
particular.
That was the understanding when they made their presentation, not under public comment. So there could be
there was a
Q&A.
specific agenda item. if I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. Okay, so we're okay having it published without any kind of disclaimer or anything like that.
That was presented by the speakers.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not endorsed, the language in there isn't endorsed by the district or.
I understand.
Doesn't mean it couldn't be challenged or accusations made by
Well,
third parties.
that's where I was just trying to, make sure that, this is informational only.
And I think that's a good point, that probably should have some language in the trustee minutes to the extent that those are attached. Notes are attached, that those are, it's clear that that is information that was provided by those candidates. And it's supported by for.
So would that be something you would follow up with,
Well,
or?
we
how
would
does
need to
that-
see if that's something that staff wants to attach. Actually, the minutes, we generally don't attach a lot to the minutes themselves. Right, but for the minutes themselves, we don't usually do a chapter. So, yeah.
Well, as long as we're kind of covering that potential, I won't say risk, but concern.
Right, we don't want to have the appearance of endorsing a particular candidate's push paper.
Right.
My suggestion would be just don't include it with minutes or for the, I'm sorry, for the, what was charter.
Yes, trustees, yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, only because it's been on there the better part of a year and it has to do with MUD 6. It's on page 44, projects currently under review, the last one on the Autumnwood roadway. And I remember the hassle that we've all been involved with trying to do drainage when that new home was built. Is there any activity that's really still a responsibility of MUD 6 for drainage?
This is actually on the country club side. That is the roadway realignment. Is that the project you're referring to?
Well, it says Autumnwood roadway. Is that the entranceway
Yeah.
into Autumnwood?
Yeah, that's been on there for a long time. We reviewed plans for that, but I guess that's not just coming forward.
We don't have any current plans for both of that drive. There was a lot of talk about that
We're gonna realign, some of those curves out of that roadway.
Oh, it's on the other side. This is on the south side, the club side.
Yeah,
Okay.
So,
I'll just take it off. So kind of like-
okay. Oh, thank you.
I do have one thing I want to share with the board today, though.
Really?
Right?
That was it. No, I just had my fingers crossed and I got a head nod.
Okay, there we go. Trustees report?
So we have covered quite a number of items in that report. I want to thank John Geiger and Summer here for their work on the Public Education Committee and supporting our mission, if you will. Bob Lux is stepping down, and so I was the last, when music stopped, I was the last person standing. So there you have it. No, not quite as bad as that. No, this is, I think it's a really important function of the Woodlands Water trustees and Woodlands Water and associated agencies to ensure that our customers are well educated on matters related to water. So, there were some other issues as discussed. So I think it's all covered in the report. Thank you.
All right. There's no reason to convene in executive session, correct? Okay. Right, then that brings us to the end of our agenda.
We want to.
But yeah, yes, thank you.
Sure. This is just a heads up for the board. We've got some real activity working on site in your district, right on the waterway itself. So I thought I'd come give you a little preview about some pre-development work we're proposing to do.
On the waterway.
This is on the waterway. This is probably you guys are, it's in your district on the waterway.
But there's a little isolated, there's two isolated pockets up there. One's River Road in that area. Be good to have, do you have the map of the
The district.
Yeah.
I don't have a district map in here, but if we go to the big map on the wall, I had to walk over here just with me.
Yeah.
Confirm that this particular.
Yeah, the little two isolated, there they are.
Tiny speck of land is
Yeah.
in your district.
Wow.
And it's gonna be very good for you that it is.
High end?
Very.
Oh.
High end is the island?
No. Well, you know what? I can't say that specifically. I don't know. It's what we're looking at right now is a pretty incredible project we put there. But one of the things that's a problem is, if you turn to page 1, page 2, we just put in the next sheet. When we developed that tract a long time ago, we built a storm sewer. We were gonna have 2 parcels there instead of 1. Plan was to have 2 multi-story buildings on that site next to the waterway. So we ran the storm sewer between the 2 buildings. Under the current proposed plan, that's gonna be 1 contiguous building. So we need to relocate the storm sewer. If you go to the next page, after that, you'll see where we are proposing to realign the storm sewer, take it to the far west. And the far west side is where there's a pipeline easement today. There's a 30-inch gas pipeline easement along that western boundary. And we're gonna run the storm sewer immediately adjacent to that storm sewer back out to the waterway. And that will accommodate our needs for the pre-development activity that's going on right now for this.
So the current storm sewer will be removed.
Current storm sewer will be removed.
Must be a high rise?
I don't want to talk about it too much. We haven't released any plans to anybody. Y'all are a public organization. I really wanted to come show you some renderings and a whole bunch of other fun things, but I can't. But as soon as I can, I will. But it'll be a true asset to your district. I can say that.
Will the cost of relocating that storm sewer be the responsibility of Mud 6? Will we cover that within a very short time frame with the added value?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Ask that
Number
question.
one, good question. That's a great question.
I've already asked that question.
And the answer is you were under no obligation. You've already built the storm sewer to serve this area once. You are under no obligation to do it twice. In this particular case, depending on what kind of value we create for your district, I think you might be able to pay it off relatively quickly, depending on the value of this particular property based on just the taxes you collect year over year. I'm bidding it publicly, just in case. And I may come back to you at a future date. If the numbers make sense to me, if the debt to value ratio is so high that I think it's gonna be, I'd like to have the opportunity to make that presentation to you at some future date. And even then, you are under no obligation to do that. Did I say that right?
And you have any feel, we should probably know that internally, when the Lakeside Cove project was put together, we had a several $100,000 bill in our hand out there for infrastructure going in. And we thought the added value in that would come back to us within 10 years. And I imagine it did because of what the value of Lakeside Cove is worth right now. But I'm just wondering, if anybody's ever done an autopsy on this to find out what the recovery was.
Well, it's still alive. In Lakeside Cove, so.
Might not want an autopsy.
How about an after-action review?
That's really all I wanted to show you. This is it's been a fun project to work on. I hope it comes to fruition. I hope our board sees it as a worthy project for us to take on, and we can come back to you at the very near future with something.
Sounds like it'd be a
Something we can really show you.
Rice University, Westview project kind of thing that you.
There you go. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's a great way to end the meeting.
That is good news. I hope it all works out.
You're looking for a place to relocate too, Neil.
There you go. So are there any items that you want added to the future agendas for next month?
Just for discussion, should we be thinking about some kind of resolution on a minimum number of months of reserves?
I agree.
So we get that down on paper, and so there's something we must adhere to.
We can certainly put that on the agenda.
Could I get your?
I think y'all can certainly discuss that and set a goal of what you want your reserve to be based on feedback and a recommendation from staff. So you've got that as a guidance.
Right. I mean, that was kind of underlying the discussion about our rates and our budget. Really, that concern was sitting there. So
I agree.
are we good with that?
Absolutely.
So I guess.
Yeah, we'll give you a range or something.
Yeah.
Try to shoot for sure between 6 and 9 or 9 and 12.
Right. And the underlying reasoning for that.
And the reason for it.
Do you want that on next month's agenda, or would you like to give staff maybe a month or two to put that together?
We could put it in November if that will work.
It's fine as well.
I mean, I'd rather have a more thorough analysis.
Well, I would too.
Yeah.
Plan too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's put it on the November agenda. Okay,
Okay.
all right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.